Kristen, Kyle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us. Come on. Just wrapping up our trip, 3 days. And the big takeaway here is I never travel any place just to see one person. So when you sales guys are out there traveling, you need to then try and find 1 or 2 or 3 other people to see.
The commodity manager of Electrolux wanted me to text her. That was her preferred method of contact. She was getting 200 emails a day. She said, just text me. This was 5 years ago. I'm like, okay. Literally could get her every time.
What's up, guys? Kyle Milan here with Manufacturing Tribe TV. Today we're at MD&M Minneapolis show.
You're always going to remember that person that was different than everybody else. So let's talk standing out and being unique.
We're back with another episode. We've increased some of our production value, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Brett's got a question. How segmented do you make the emails every 2 to 4 weeks? Are you sending to the broad group of contacts or do you customize? I think that you could do it both ways, but I think in general, everybody needs to see your content. Everybody needs to see something that you're creating and something that you can provide value to.
You can tell a story a whole lot faster in a 3-minute video than you can in a 14-page article or 10 2-page articles.
Everything's about brand awareness and content right now, and it will continue to be that. So focus on producing some sort of content, and if you're selling B2B, which I'm assuming most people here are, focus on LinkedIn.
Number one, we do not charge for this stuff. I put all of my content out there for free. Send it to somebody that you feel may get some value out of it, and also engage. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll get to all of the comments after the break. Those comments mean the world to us because it shows that you guys care. So don't just sit there and watch, but please engage and hit those thumbs on LinkedIn. What is up, guys? I'm Kyle Milan. It is Monday, and I love these Monday shows now because I have to do no preparation for them. So for those of you that are new to it, our Monday shows are Q&A. So the way it goes down is you guys send us emails at askkyle@mfgtribe.com. And then Nick picks through those emails with questions, and he picks 3 of them. We go through those 3 questions. And then if there's some additional Q&A, if you guys are leaving comments, asking additional questions, we go through those as well. But the main beef of the show is going to be answering those 3 questions. So whether you are coming in through YouTube, coming in through LinkedIn, or listening to this after the fact in a replay video, or if you are listening to this on the podcast, we appreciate you guys coming. Please share it with someone that you know that can get some value out of this content. What we talk about here is industrial marketing, manufacturing marketing, technical sales, and then dipping into small business. People are asking questions about small business and how we've gotten to where we're at and things like that. So there's nothing under the sun that we won't answer. So if you guys can throw your questions into askkyle@mfgtribe.com, and we will bring them up on to the next show. So let's get it started. Nick, throw up the first question. Love not being prepared for this. All right. Asked to remain anonymous. I'm redoing my marketing budget and wanted to know how I should break it down and how much to spend in the categories of digital, trade shows, agency, advertising, etc. All right. So marketing budget. Marketing budgets are difficult. I can never, like, a lot of people out there will say, oh, your marketing budget should be X percentage of your total revenue. I disagree with that, especially in industrial and manufacturing, because this industry, you guys aren't going to be spending close to those numbers. A lot of people say 0.5% of your total revenue should be spent on your marketing budget, whether that's external or internal. That's roughly what it should be in the general rule of thumb. I disagree with that because manufacturing people will never spend that much typically. So if you're redoing your budget, and we're already almost in March, but hey, there's no better time to do it. I would take a look at how you've been spending money and the performance of that money and how things have been going. So traditionally, industrial manufacturing companies spend too much money on things like trade shows. Even though 2020, 2021, most trade shows were canceled. So your budget is bare there. But traditionally, people are going to too many trade shows. I mean, I love trade shows. I think that they can be good, but you have to go into it knowing that it's not going to be like it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where you're getting a ton of leads from them, and like 50, 60, 70 leads and good leads at that rate, and that you're going to get a huge ROI on it. I would look at minimizing the trade shows that you're going to. I would look at only going after the key ones. So maybe like 10, 15% of your budget is on trade shows. Now, if you're like, I'm in this vertical, I'm in this niche, and trade shows, we kill it and we get tons of stuff, then for sure continue investing that. But really go into it like trying to find ways to save money, like really be bullish against like, I need to prove to myself that I need to keep doing this or start doing this. So I would say like maybe 10 to 15, 20% max is on trade shows. I would look at, from an agency standpoint, a lot of industrial companies are using agencies. Otherwise, companies like MFG Tribe would not be in existence. For general rule of thumb, I mean, you could do a lot with 60, 70,000 a year. Generally 100 to 120,000 will get you pretty much a nice range of having an agency like ours or other industrial agencies out there give you a well range of capabilities and put you in a lot of the right places. But you really have to look at like what's working in industrial right now. So what's working is you have to be shooting videos, you have to be writing articles, you have to be present and consistent on LinkedIn, and you have to have a website that is really going to take that attention and close on it. And then the last thing is going to be, you have to have SEO working for the long term. So I would say if you're looking at, hey, I've got a team of one or two, and I want to bring in an agency, look to spend 100,000 and above to have them manage it. If you're redoing a website, and you're a decently sized company, I would say 15 to 30,000. If it's a large e-commerce website, you can be looking at 50 to $100,000. But you really have to look at, a lot of times industrial companies don't have big departments. And if they do, it's like one or two other people. Those people can manage some of your budget and some of the aspects. Maybe you have like a really light advertising campaign where you're spending like $1,000 a month. You can have one person manage that while they're doing a couple of other things, but you can't have one person manage that while they're doing everything. So that's something that should fall on the agency side. From an advertising standpoint, most industrial companies are probably in like the 1 to 5,000 a month range for advertising spend. You really have to look at that and understand that it is not a linear relationship to how much you spend to how much results you get back. So be bullish against spending more in advertising. I would prefer it if nobody ever had to spend any money on advertising to get a lead, right? If you're already paying an agency, hopefully the organic stuff is working, but sometimes companies need to speed that up a lot faster. And so then they do advertising to get them to the top of Google, to get them in front of the right people. And you can be super strategic about it if you're using LinkedIn advertising. But from that standpoint, I'd be looking at spending $2,000 a month. So your budget could depend on a lot of factors. If you said I've got $1 million to spend, we could break it down and show you exactly where to spend it. But I'd say for the most, without understanding this specific person's situation and the budget they have to play with, I would say in general, look at what you've been doing for the last 3 years. Try and find reasons to prove that you should keep doing it. Is what you've been doing working for you in any capacity? And be bullish against it to prove that it works. But then definitely reach out to companies like MFG Tribe or other people out there that are focused in industrial and say, look, this is my goal. I'm trying to increase my revenue by this. What do you guys think I should focus on? But definitely look at, you have to be creating content. That's what we've been saying for multiple years. That's the way the marketing has shifted in industrial. You have to put good, valuable stuff out there. So partner with somebody that can create that with you instead of taking on all the workload yourself. All right, Nick, let's throw the next one from Jeffrey. Just Jeffrey. I got my first job as a sales engineer. Where should my focus be in the first 3 months? All right, first time sales engineer. You're focused in the first 3 months. A lot of people say focus on the product or the service that you're selling. I would say spend like a week doing that to understand stuff, maybe 2 weeks simultaneously while you're doing other things. But the first 3 months are going to be getting a handle on your current territory. So you want to look at who are your current customers if you're taking over accounts, understanding the potential that those people have. So rank them A, B, and C. So if you've got 50 current customers and you can go to them tomorrow and you can ask them for a potential new business or have conversations with them, look at their potential, A, B, and C. A people are going to be able to spend the most with you. C people are going to spend the least. So look at your current customers. Then I would go through and look in that territory, or if you've got the entire country, look at all quotes that you've done in the last 2 to 3 years. because those people know you at some capacity, even if the person isn't there anymore. That is a way to start a conversation with somebody. Is you can say, "Hey, we quoted you a couple years ago. It didn't work out. What's up with that project? Did you guys kick that off?" Or you can say, "I'm new to the team, and so I wanted to have a quick conversation with you." There's a lot of ways to start that conversation if you've already, the company has already done the work to get them to at least quote it. Now that's what a lot of people call the unsold. So you quoted them, you didn't close them, they're unsold. You can go back and recycle that. And the next thing I would do is focus on growing your network on LinkedIn and pushing your presence as hard as possible on that. Those areas you have to focus on immediately. You can get product answers, whether you're selling a product or a service in the technical space. You can get those answers from the supporting team. You don't have to spend a month, although some of the bigger companies, and I've worked at them and I've seen it, they are like, "Oh, for the first month, you're going to be understanding the business and we want you to be doing everything from A to Z." But at the end of the day, they brought you in to close deals and increase revenue. The best way to do that is going to be understanding the product enough to be able to have those conversations. But if you have the support team, you don't have to know everything. That goes down to the 80-20 rule I have, where technical sales is 80% selling, 20% technical knowledge. And so with that being said, don't focus too much time on understanding everything and being able to answer every single question. You want to be able to have a conversation, but focus on right away, week number 1, week number 2, boots on the ground, understanding your territory, getting on LinkedIn, building out your network, sending connection requests, and start having those conversations as soon as possible. Because typically in this role, it's going to be a long sales cycle to where it could be 3 months, 6 months, 2 years until you close somebody. So let's start that timer as fast as possible. Love the salespeople coming in. If you guys have comments, leave them in the comment section. We'll see if we can get through them. From a smallish independent service provider, what are the top issues you face when growing your company? So I face so many issues growing this business where we're at today. I've probably made every single mistake a business owner can make because I didn't know any different. It doesn't matter how much you read, how much you plan. Things come up, you make a mistake. The key is not, learning from that mistake and not making it again. But I'd say if I could break it into a couple of key areas, I would say number one, the services that we offered are completely different now than they were then. If we were doing the services that we have now, back when I started 6 years ago, video was a little bit ahead of its time if we were doing it then. But just the core marketing services, we would have grown faster. The second side of it is the people. You have to focus on the people. Like at the end of the day, the biggest issue that I faced was trying to duplicate myself. So I know industrial, I think pretty well. And so I couldn't in the beginning afford to bring on another person like myself that knew as much as I knew, because they wanted an insane amount of money that I couldn't afford to pay them. So what I started doing was doing research and learning, like if I could just take a couple of key things that I do on a daily basis. And when I'm growing my team, find people that are good at those things where I can still be on the top and remain, the head of strategy and having sales conversations and things like that. But if I can bring on support team to handle all of the daily, weekly, monthly tasks, then that works out well. But then even that, I made tons of mistakes with people that I've hired, going from contract employees, full-time employees. I mean, I've gone through the gamut, but I would say focus as much time as you can on the people and the team that you're building, because they're the ones that are going to be doing it at the end of the day. And so like, if I left the business tomorrow, would the company still survive? Would it still be able to keep going? I mean, that's really the question that you have to answer, and ask yourself. And if it can't, then you don't have enough of the right team in place. And maybe you're not there yet. Maybe the growth of your company and the revenue that you have, you can't afford to bring in those top people. But if you've got good processes down, which is something that we did very good early on, probably 4 years ago, our processes, our SOPs, the way that we do things is very strategic. It's very controlled. Part of it has to do with my engineering background and being brought up in this stuff. The other part of it is having strong project managers that can create that stuff. But really the team at the end of the day is the one that they keep the business going, right? Like, so I bring the potential opportunities in, and now we've got Greta working for us for the last few months. So she's bringing opportunities in. We're closing those opportunities. But if the team can't handle the workload and if they can't take it and run, then that's going to pull people back into it that you don't want to. So focusing on the team, paying them as much as you possibly can, getting the most qualified people for what you can afford, and being extremely strategic about the positions that you bring in. Because I've made mistakes where I've had heads of departments, and then those heads of departments are just managers and they're managing one person, but they're not actually doing any of the work. Like, we had to be super thrifty in the beginning to where people that can do the work, but also manage a team, that also can grow with you, that also can handle the workload, understand the industry. Like, we're in a niche, and there's not many people that want to work in industrial and manufacturing niche, because for me, it's cool. But that's one of the first questions we ask when we're interviewing people is like, if you're talking about this every single day, is this something that excites you, or are you going to get burnt out? So you really have to focus on the people aspect of it. But yeah, I've made literally probably every mistake, some mistakes probably twice in the last 6 years. We've got some comments. LinkedIn user, no name, please. How often or how long after you have made a connection on LinkedIn do you move to the sales approach? How do you move to this transition? So I would say it depends on how much content you're creating. So at a minimum, I would say 4 weeks at an absolute minimum. Do not try and sell them anything for at least 4 to maybe 6 weeks. So you connect with them, you thank them for the connection. Then hopefully you have something of value to share with them, because that's what it should all be about, is providing value to them, not just trying to sell them. And you send them something. And then maybe a week or two later, you send them something else of value. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, you send them something else that made you think of them. Once you've done that a few times, then you can say, hey, this is what I do. If you guys ever have a need, let me know. But don't go down the path of like, here's my line card, here's my spec sheet, here's what we can do from a service standpoint, here's my product, I want to demo it for you. You really want to go into it and like, hey, if you guys are ever looking for this, just let me know, and keep it super simple and straight to the point. Hopefully that answers that question. What else we got, Nick? Any new comments? All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break to let any new comments come in with questions, and then we'll be right back in about 90 seconds.
What if they don't currently have a problem with a process or system? Will the approach still be effective? If they don't have a problem, man, you can't solve it. So if you go into a sales call and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Do you guys have any issues with it? They're like, nope. Don't sell the unsellable. Is homepage content the most important? So that brings up a good point. What you need to look at in your Google Analytics is your top landed pages. And the top landed pages are, what page do people first see? And we always look at the top 10. And so is homepage usually the first of the top 10 landed on pages? Yes, it is usually. But it typically only represents no more than 50% of the total traffic that lands on that page first. Is only about 50% go to the homepage. 30, 45 minutes a day working on building out your network. And then I would spend 30 to 45 minutes a day engaging with your network. Assuming that you have deals already in the pipeline, current customers, you have meetings during the week, stuff like that, where it's pulling out your time to where you only have a few hours left over, then that's how I'd split it. Half your time focused on building your network, the other half of the time focused on engaging.
All right, guys, and we are back. So this is why I love the Monday shows, because we can just pop in here. We got the questions already lined up. Nick throws them up on the screen, and then somebody asks a question, an additional question. If you guys have any additional questions that you want on next Monday's show, please send an email to askkyle@mfgtribe.com. Let us know if you want to remain anonymous or not. We can certainly respect that. Don't forget that on Wednesdays, we have our show about technical sales and marketing. Also, be sure, if you guys are into podcasts, you can listen to all these episodes on the podcast, Technical Sales and Marketing, or just search on all the podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. I think that we're everywhere. Just search my name and you'll be able to find the podcast. So if you guys got value out of this content, please share it with somebody that you know. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and we will see you on the next one.